out to learn not how to spin out?
You need to experience the car to know what it can do.
Well, that's what we're here for, isn't it?
It is.
This is like, you know in those car commercials, they always say, closed course, do not attempt?
This is a closed course.
We are attempting!
You're gonna drive. We're gonna do a reverse 180. So we're gonna go down the end of the track and we'll start backing up high speed 60 kilometers an hour. You're just gonna do a little dip with the wheel and then crank real hard the other way, foot off the gas, and the car will rotate.
Now there goes the new car smell.
Well, fam, it's time for training. Let's go to Regina, eh? Okay, so now you're going to depot. You're going to be there for 26 weeks. And you're going to train to risk your life every day and to get into altercations.
Get in the middle of altercations, not get
resulting
into altercations.
in possibly threatening your life, taking you away from your family, taking you away from your job even. You might get hurt. You might not be able to do this anymore. You might lose a fellow officer. You might be involved in trying to help some really dire situations. You might have to hurt someone else. And that's all really serious stuff. And you're going there for 26 weeks of your life to train so you can make, adequate money. But you're not getting rich. Nobody in this profession is getting rich. So why do you want to go off and live in some desolate community where there's like nothing and it's freezing cold and the conditions are just unusual? Why do you want to have to know how to use all kinds of different vehicles and get acquainted with all kinds of terrain? And why would you want to subject yourself to seeing the worst of humanity? The literal worst of humanity. You're going to walk in and you're going to see hurts and harms and disrespect and truly gruesome things. That's what being a police officer is. Okay? I don't understand why anybody would want to subject themselves to that. Especially today. In today's day and age, it's even worse, I believe, than it ever was. Technology's a bit better, so that's good. You're not needing to, be pulled by non-motorized vehicles or methods of transportation. At least you got a heater in your car. But there's no force field yet. You're not indestructible. You might have to hurt somebody else. Why would anyone want to do that? I guess it has something to do with your core sense of wanting to see things go right, or that there's safety, or that there's some type of justice. Maybe you just really like the excitement. Maybe you just really like the thrill. Although I highly doubt that that's mostly it. You must be proud. I suppose that's what it is. Maybe you just really like Canada. Maybe you're just really one of the people that just really wants to see everyone be okay. And instead of just talking about it, you're the type of person that will do something about it. Maybe there's something about being able to find a lost child and return that child to the parents, or give someone who has been sitting there with questions about their loved one get closure. Maybe you like the idea of being part of something that's bigger than just yourself. Maybe that's what everyone really wants at the end of the day. I think it's a heavy burden to be the good guy, because you have to be, more than everyone else. You have to do it right all the time, even in your personal life. Everything has to be just one little bit more correct. And you don't get to complain about it. Nobody wants to hear that, right? You don't get to cry in your Cheerios about anything. You have to just suck it up, buttercup, and keep going. Although I think that attitude needs to change. I think it is slowly changing. But I guess there must be a pride, like a resolve. How are you going to handle all that? There's a lot to it. Under everything we've read, there's 20 things under each subtitle. Every day you're putting your life in jeopardy. Every shift. Every day. Year after year after year. And yet, your job will never end. There will never be, ever, a time when your job will be over. And some days, you might be subjected to this.
They would struggle to keep up with totally unpredictable, fast-changing conditions while they stuffed their patrol cars full of people needing a ride to evacuation centers. They rescued a woman from her home who was confined to a wheelchair, and thank goodness they did. Her house would later burn to the ground. And above all, RCMP members would empathize with their fellow citizens, because if ever there was a time for a community and its police forces to have each other's backs, this was it.
I'm a single body in the middle of 2.5 lanes, and anybody could have blown by me if they wanted to. I'm not going to stand in the way of 3,000 pounds. And it didn't matter. Everybody just put everything on hold. And for that period of time, they just listened to us without question. We said, you need to do this, you need to turn your car this way, and you need to go that way. And you need to forget what's behind you. And everybody just said, okay.
When the first few neighborhoods were evacuated, residents were frantic. Couples had lost track of each other. Their kids were in schools, unreachable because of traffic jams, roadblocks, and fire. It was confusing and it was frightening. It was a nightmare. In such chaos, people need stability, some hope and reassurance. And everyone needs someone they can count on, someone they can trust in.
I think they were looking to us for reassurance that no matter what, it was going to be okay. Because if we started to panic, and they saw that we started to panic, then there was no way that we could reasonably expect them to follow our directions. And there's no way that they could have any confidence in what we did ask or tell them to do. Our job is public safety. It is to protect and preserve life, first and foremost. And on that day, everybody said, we're doing it. We're doing whatever you need, whatever you say, we're doing it.
RCMP members had each other to trust. They reassured each other, and they knew what was needed. So they projected an aura of calm dependability. Whether they felt that way or not, they were what they are obliged to be, professional. And Fort McMurray's residents would take heart in that.
Most of our members were in those pockets that were burning to get those people out. And as they were standing there, we could hear all the radio chatter. We had radios up here to monitor what was going on. And you could hear the intensity in the members' voices, like, the fire's here, we gotta go. We don't have time to check every door. They were driving through neighborhoods on their speakers, their car speakers, and jumping fences, doing door-to-door knocks as fast as they could. But the fire it didn't give us enough time. And we had members that were literally within meters of the fire and had to say, we gotta go.
It would destroy 2,400 homes and buildings, consume an area the size of Prince Edward Island. It had created its very own climate.
If Timberley detachment goes down and we can't work here, where do we go? So we go to the South Policing Facility. But we didn't plan on, if that goes down as well, where do you go? And so then we were like a traveling roadshow with our Emergency Operations Center, moving around. And the fires dictated where we went.
Yikes.
Members were jumping in vehicles with other members. They were doing whatever they had to do to get it done. If the road clears, which it did a few hours later, then you have to make patrols to Timberley and that to make sure, that if there are any stragglers behind, get them out, and to make sure that there's no looting or any other issues like that.
As individuals, as an organization, and as a community, we don't always know what we're capable of until we're faced with those monumental challenges. From our Division Emergency Operations Center, who were responsible for coordinating all the logistics in terms of scheduling, lodging, and food, to our 911 operators who were managing all the distress calls, to our non-uniform employees working behind the scenes, I can say without question, our main goal was always public safety.
Doing their duty was going way above and beyond what many RCMP members had ever experienced before. Most worked 72 hours straight, some even longer. All RCMP members put in hours that would normally be deemed ridiculous, but they weren't during that week in May in Fort McMurray. Such hours were the norm, day after day.
A few officers kind of amongst the highway and myself were basically decided if they're north of this point and if they're south of this point, you split them both directions. So we started diverting traffic up north. At the end of the day, that pressure was relieved off south traffic, and in a couple hours, you could actually start to see the back of the pack.
Just about everyone was in line, and though those lines were slow-moving, people trusted in the RCMP members and officers guiding the evacuation. RCMP members stepped in and provided convoy duty. Shepherding 50 vehicles at a time, they led several thousand families through smoke and, at times, a phalanx of fire along the side of the road. RCMP members, checking for stragglers, watched the destruction while wondering how their own homes in neighborhoods across the city were faring. No one knew till later, but 15 RCMP would lose their homes to the fire. And the remains. They looked like the aftermath of an atomic bomb or the apocalyptic set of a Hollywood movie.
They're all alive.
And seeing it for the first time in person, visitors are often stunned.
It's become a common image in the new century. A quiet street in an unremarkable place, suddenly chaos in the name of public safety. On Sunday morning, July 8, 2007, in Barrhead, Alberta, a heavily armed SWAT team from the RCMP shatters a quiet social gathering
poles in the driveway. Don't let them get out of the door.
I could go on and on and on. Like these lineups of officers that have grief in their hearts and they're hurting. Senseless violence is an epidemic in our world, even more so than mandates and COVID. The pandemic is the increased level of apathy towards people who are devoted to helping you. There's definitely and always will be corruption in any organization. All situations where there are large numbers of people are subject to bad behaviors. But even the bad guys understand, that there's a job that has to be done. That's why they run. That's why they shoot. These officers are aware that freedom for criminals is at stake, and people will fight to the bitter end for their freedom, regardless of whether it makes sense or not. That's what human beings do. Being aware of that is part of the reason we all must be very diplomatic and careful and apologetic for those who disrupt and do things that we are not condoning just because we are a group that is associated with somebody who's hurt somebody else or intends to hurt somebody else. Family, really, in Canada, and say what you will, family is what we are truly based on here. We are good people. We are good people. There's been an increase in mortality, homicide, definitely. There's been an increase in so much corruption, drugs, addiction, suicide, domestic abuse, homicide, sexual abuse, human trafficking. All of these aspects, these horrible aspects, organized crime, major fraud. There has to be something that controls it a little. We sometimes have to give up some of our freedoms for the betterment. I don't necessarily think anyone should be forced to do anything they don't want to do. I certainly don't feel that anyone should be forced to put something in their body they don't want to do. And this was never intended to be anything related to the convoy. But as things have unfolded while I was doing this project, it became necessary to look at that. And I don't feel that anyone should be forced to put anything into their body they don't want to. But there'll be consequences to not doing it. That's what living in a democracy is, because when the majority votes on something or is pro something, it leaves the ones that don't want to do it a little bit in the cold. That's sort of what democracy is. It's not just an election. It's how we move about our society. So there will be consequences to not getting a vaccine or putting something in your body you don't want. I'm certain that most of the convoy were not aware that there was a massive collection of guns taken out and people arrested for intentions to murder people. Who knows who? And I don't think that anyone should ever put anything in their body they don't want to, or have anything forcibly put in their body they don't want in there. That includes bullets.
And then, just as I'm losing faith in Canadians and humanity and everything that I believe in and everything that I know to be true about my fellow people, I'm filled up again with pride. And it's beautiful. And this is beautiful. People must understand what is going on, and that there was real threat and real danger, and that was real, and they didn't want to exacerbate it, and they are aware, I suppose, of some of the things these Albertan police have been through, which hasn't always been the best, you know, a lot of things. And they hugged, and they talked, and even though it was a feeling of maybe not getting what they wanted, and probably both sides. Look at that. Look at that. Oh my gosh. I'm feeling so much better now. Like, so much better. I'm gonna leave it on this note. I was gonna keep going with what they do and all of the toys they ride and more stuff and more stuff. Look, there's about a gazillion things that RCMP do. Like a gazillion. Every aspect, including going to other countries like Afghanistan and guarding the Queen and search and rescue in the water, search and rescue on land, search and rescue in every possible terrain and situation you can possibly think of. Bomb squad, intelligence, like fraudulent, whatever the heck, and wow, like just everything. Coast Guard. You saw how they were doing the fire stuff. I mean, we're like, you know, I didn't see any fire trucks. What up? Anyways, I'm going to leave it here because this is a positive note. And I believe that we deserve a positive note. We really do. I love you, everybody. I don't care what you do for a living. I don't care if you're on this side or that side. I respect you. And I think that's why we're so awesome.
We stand on guard for thee. God keep our land.
Just a little side note. I don't know what I don't know about this officer, but I don't know. Maybe nobody should be losing their job right about now. You know? I don't know what I don't know, but just think about it. Read about it. Figure it out.
Thank you guys.